So many of you probably know about the new hit success, BoJack Horseman. Or well, it's not very new anymore, but still. Um, First reading about the premise, I didn't really think much of it. It didn't sound bad or anything, but I wasn't really intrigued. Then I watched the trailer and I just thought, it looks okay, but nothing special. But then I started hearing good things about this show actually. But it progressively got better and better, so I checked out the first episode and well, as some of you probably know, people aren't too fond of the first episode, and some think it's, a lot of people think it's a pretty bad start to the show, and I don't think it's that bad actually. It sets up our main character well, this former sitcom star BoJack Horseman, and how he now doesn't really have much to do. We get to look at several of the main characters like Todd, Princess Carolyn, and Mr. Peanut Butter. And granted, the pilot is flawed. I mean, the humor doesn't always really hit, and I wasn't a big fan of Princess Carolyn or Mr. Peanut Butter. Todd didn't get much time at all, so I didn't really get the sense of what kind of character he was. But BoJack himself was pretty interesting. So yeah, overall it was pretty good, if not great. Then the second episode became where he criticized the troops, and I think that was a lot better when it comes to the humor. But people have praised the show for being emotional afterwards, so eventually I would have to, feel the feels, so to say. And that's what I did with this episode, where BoJack's friend Todd was writing this script, which he was very ambitious about and wanted to make a movie about. And this really touched me. The way it developed BoJack and Todd's kinship, and at the end, when you have seen it to know what happens. I was pretty emotional, but like, wow, that really hit me hard. And it wouldn't stop there either. We later have this episode, The Telescope, in which we meet BoJack's old sitcom co-star. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, who he later betrayed. And he became the star instead. Later on, we find out... Oh wait, now I remember! Yeah, the executives thought he should be fired so that BoJack can take the spot instead. That's what the betrayal was. And well, later on we find out that he has cancer. And that's just grace, isn't it? But BoJack feels bad about what he did and decides to meet up with him. Probably, light some new sparks, but when he sees his depressing new life, he realizes that's not going to be so easy. And I think this is where the show really reached, really great levels. Like the opera episode was alright, it was opera anyway. The rock opera episode was emotional, but this just, touched you places you couldn't imagine. It was just, really, real downer. I would say this is the first real downer episode. I mean, there was one episode earlier which was pretty sad with how Sarah Lynn's life had gone, but I think this was the first one which was just really, ouch, this was sad for real, man. But there were still some flaws left, like Princess Caroline. I still didn't care for her. But later on they gave her an episode which was called Say Anything. And while I still think it's one of the weakest episodes of the season, they did, try to make her more likable, and I think they did pretty good for what they tried. And as for Mr. Peanut Butter, they improved his character with a really comedic episode. I think this is the funniest episode of the whole season, because you see, there's also Diane, Bojack's, who Bojack is working with, and he has this huge crush on her, but unfortunately she becomes Peanut Butter's girlfriend. But he's still hoping to win her over somehow, so as a romantic gesture, he steals a letter from a Hollywood sign, but he's going to a list, but Mr. Peanut Butter does it instead, and so we fight over her with this ridiculous idea of stealing a letter from a Hollywood sign, and it's just so funny. And Mr. Peanut Butter is really great in it. I think this is where his character started to peak, becoming more than just that annoying screaming attention whore dude. You actually start to take some interest in his character. And then in the episode Downer ending, the show takes a very different route. We have seen before how Bojack thinks his life is all screwed up and how he had a shitty childhood. But anyway, in this episode he takes some drugs to help with inspiration for his writing. But instead he starts flashing through his life and all the people he knows. And what starts out as just this really fucked up but very funny hallucination trip turns to something much more serious and quite dark. And I would put this up with Telescope and our A story is the D story with the best episode of the season, because it was really well animated. Usually the animation looks fairly average if serviceable, but I think here we really show the creative chops, how we can use imagery to give us a sense of Bojack's feelings. He might be this drug addicted and selfish bozo, but this showed that he doesn't really want to be that way. He genuinely wishes he was a good person, but he keeps making the same stupid mistakes every time. And it's quite something amazing. About Diane, I really like how what we do with her character as well. She starts as this normal, quite nice girl, and then we start to see more for the darker side, that she also has troubled emotions, just like Bojack, and she also gets mistreated by people, like her family in one episode. Oh, Jesus Christ. If I had that kind of family that she had, I would fucking escape just right out the fucking door. And while that episode was funny, it was also quite depressing, because you just feel so sorry for his character. Um, I think the season quite splendidly mixed comedy and tragedy. That it was hilarious at the times it needed to be, and very moody when it needed to be. And speaking of moody, this after a while, I started to feel sad at the end of pretty much every episode. I mean, even the really goofy episode when Bojack is in the production of a movie, but they keep making all these stupid changes all the time. It still ended on a really sad note. Like I was laughing my ass off pretty much the whole time, and then suddenly the ending is just oh shit, that wow. I didn't expect to feel this bad even in this kind of episode. So yeah, this show just keeps getting better and better, and really fast too. I mean, I liked how it started, but then it just I think it's one of my favorite modern cartoons actually, because I don't really watch many new cartoons, but this is definitely one of the most interesting ones in the new wave. The final, well, it was very good, but considering the huge emotional punch of the previous episode, downer ending, I don't think it really lived up to that. I mean, it was still sad in some spots, and brought up good questions and moral points, but it didn't really quite hit me in the feels as much. So yeah, I think they could have done a little better, but it was still very good. So I hugely look forward to the next season, because I'm really impressed. I mean, yeah, before I saw the show, I really didn't think it would be this great, but I have been proven wrong, as you can see. So yeah, so if you're tired of formulaic stuff and want something different to break a mold, I think this would just be the show for you. If you want something more than just laugh as well, and also sympathize with characters. I mean, I watch many shows just to laugh, but I want to care about the people I'm watching too, and sometimes I also want it mixed with some comedy, a comedy with some dramatic undertones, and this is the perfect kind of show for that. So anyway, this might have been a little rambling, but I haven't done this for a while. So anyway, did I mention it was a midnight Cowman? Oh well, if I didn't, I did it just now. So see you next time, folks.